egg yolk, what is going on? Viewers of the tube, if you're just getting introduced to the channel, let me say sup, my name is Tyler, and you just entered the crypto channel that will always enjoy mom's cooking, no matter what.
How is it?
Good.
It looks like you're enjoying yourself. Oh, yeah, that looks like you're enjoying. Okay, you okay?
I'm okay.
You know how we keep it down. It's time for Chico Crypto. Well, things are looking pretty sweet, special, and ripe for the markets all around. Pulling out what we talk about the most, Bitcoin and its price since Sunday, a bullish all-around week, pushing back through 6K, past 6.2K, then 6.6K, and as of yesterday morning, we smashed through 7K. But BTC isn't the only asset pushing up. Stonks have been doing great too. The stonk rally began on the 24th of March, pushing up from the 18K point lows and rallied up to the 22K points. But as we can see, it has been a big test of that level for the entire week. And by April Fool's Day, it fell back under. Although as of yesterday, a big push up began. So what was leading this end of the week push for all assets? Do you really want to know? Well, let's just look at this chart, the asset that pumped the most yesterday, rocketeering up by nearly 25% in a single candle, going from under $22 to over $26. That asset is a commodity, and it's called crude oil. Remember, like I said, this comes down to one thing and one thing only, as most conflicts have in the modern years. It's a supply and demand of the thing they call black gold. So if you haven't watched two of the videos we have recently produced regarding this oil price war, I highly recommend you check them out, as it gives a solid prelude into what is going on. Both of those videos are in the description if you want to check them out. So America, it's backed into a freaking corner regarding their ultimate supreme power of the petrodollar. If you don't know what this is, a quick summary. All transactions in oil done across the globe must be denominated in the US dollar. Basically, the US dollar is a middleman for oil purchases from OPEC nations. The foreign currency of a nation is converted into US dollar greenbacks. Then the nations can import oil. What do you think that has done since industrialization of nations went into global overdrive? It created a massive demand for US dollars. And you know what system we were on before this? The Bretton Woods system, where a nation's currency wasn't pegged to any type of physical asset anymore. It was pegged to US dollars, the agreed upon reserve currency, and US dollars were pegged to gold. So after the post-war turmoil, World War II, it created a massive demand for US dollars and put most of the gold in the US's hands as the economies across the globe expanded. By 1950, over 80% of the world's gold was sitting in US vaults as nations demanded the USDs. But eventually, those countries wanted their gold back, and the US printed when they shouldn't have and didn't have the reserves to fulfill a gold run. So Nixon broke the gold standard in 1971 with the Nixon shock, and within 2 years, by 1973, Nixon and the Saudis struck deals for the creation of the petrodollar. So now do you understand why oil is so damn important? So let's fast forward to today. Our president now is the Trumpster, and like I mentioned, his administration is backed into a corner regarding this oil price war. But he had some things to say, which obviously got the markets feeling good enough for a 25% pump. Let's listen in.
So I think that Saudi Arabia, Russia, they're negotiating, they're talking, and I think they'll come up with something. I'm going to meet with the oil companies on Friday. I'm going to meet with independent oil producers also on Friday or Saturday, maybe Sunday. But we're having a lot of meetings on it. I think I know what to do to solve it.
Yeah, so he said the Saudis and Russia are talking and negotiating, as they are the two biggest players besides the US in this. And regarding the US, we don't seem to be in these negotiations with the Saudis and Russia, as Trump has plans to speak with US oil producing companies today and over the weekend, not the Saudis and Russia. So to me, it sounds like we have two players right now, two very important ones, Russia and Saudi Arabia. And if they aren't able to come to an agreement which satisfies the US, Trump is going to do something. Let's finish what he said.
If they're unable to solve it, then I think I know what to do to solve it. I think that Russia and Saudi Arabia at some point are going to make a deal in the not too distant future because it's very bad for Russia. It's very bad for Saudi Arabia. It's very bad. I mean, it's bad for both. So I think they're going to make a deal. You know, the free market is a wonderful thing. It's amazing how it can work. But I think they're going to make a deal.
Yeah, it comes down to these two agreeing to cut their production and thus the prices go back up. Is that going to happen? Well, Trump said he thinks so, as they must. It's so bad for them, not the US and our industries. Dude, it's all about the US and the fracking company debt-ridden house of cards of which the US bet big time on when George W. Jr. signed the Energy Policy Act of 2005. We went long on oil and it was a bad decision then. But once Trumpy got elected, we decided to once again go long on the frack, and this time we did it with max leverage and debt. So what is going to happen? Will the US come out on top, or is this the beginning of the collapse of the petrodollar? Well, Russia's energy minister Alexander Novak said yesterday this when asked about resuming talks with the Saudis. This is one of our options, and we do not rule this out. Well, this is option, Novak, as even Trump knows it. It comes down to an agreement for you guys to both cut production. Are the talks happening? Well, Trump tweeted this: just spoke to my friend, the Crown Prince of Saudia Arabia, who spoke with President Putin of Russia, and I expect and hope that they will be cutting back approximately 10 million barrels, and maybe substantially more, which if it happens will be great for the oil and gas industry. However, Russia responded with Kremlin Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov saying to reporters yesterday that talks have not begun and are not planned. He continued, so far no one has started talking about any specific or even abstract deals in exchange for OPEC+. No one is happy with this situation. So from Trump, that was BS from a BSer.
So, you BS'd a BSer. Good for you. I hope you feel good about yourself. God damn it.
Gosh darn you, Trump, those markets fell for it. But I will tell you right now, this is not going to go well because of the global situation where nothing is frickin' moving. Supply of oil is shooting through the roof while demand is plummeting. So the future is murky, and Russia has previously mentioned their future plans. The Alexander Novak, who said they would be open to talks with the Saudis, previously said this too. The Russian oil industry has a high-quality resource base and a sufficient margin of financial strength to remain competitive at any forecast price level, as well as maintain its market share. And this is not false. They have some of the world's lowest production costs, a flexible tax system, and a free-floating ruble. Russian companies can keep pumping even in an extremely bearish price scenario, and they have, and they can keep it lower and still be profitable. Production costs of some of the top producers in Russia under $12 a barrel of crude, so they can hit $15, and they think they can hit it for a good while still expanding and even taking more market share. Share from who? Well, the Saudis can do oil the cheapest, so not from them. It has to be from the US, right? You are correct, and we are already starting to see the domino fall of shale producers in the US. A major player in North Dakota's oil industry has filed for bankruptcy, Whiting Petroleum. And just look at the stock price since January, collapsing quicker than a shitcoin, going from over $8.70 to 31 cents as of yesterday, a loss of 96%. That is why I predict things could get ugly and ugly real quick. Whiting couldn't sustain their operations for a couple of months at these low prices. It's impossible for the others who were gasping for breath before this to continue for that much longer. That is why energy analyst John Driscoll of JTD Energy Services said this about the collapse of Whiting. I don't want to be a doomsayer, but I think Whiting is just simply the first domino that's going to fall. Yes, the domino of debt-ridden leveraged shale companies. US shale patch bears some of the highest production costs in the world, requiring a break-even price of between $50 and $55 per barrel. So do you see the similarities between this commodity crude oil and the commodity Bitcoin? They both are produced. They both have a price market based on supply and demand, but BTC production remains the same for about 4 years, no matter what the price. While the production of oil and other commodities, their production is a function of the price. And the demand for Bitcoin is only going to increase while that production gets cut in half every 4 years. And we are once again coming right up on that. The demand for oil, it's only going to decrease while the supplies won't ever stop. Buy Bitcoin and short oil, thus the USD. You know how we end it. Oh, hell yes. Cheers. I'll see you next time.